find out when it goes
live.
That
one just snuck up. All of a sudden we were live. That was very cool. Usually there's a little bit of delay. I just pressed it and put us live. Yeah. What's up, everybody? Hope you all had a good weekend. It is time for MLB Live Before Lock. Pleasantly surprised to see a really big $5 contest in the lobby on DraftKings today. So I've got everything reserved for that. I've got double, triple check to make sure I was reserved this time too. You know, you have certain things, you fuck up a CSV, you forget to reserve lineups one day, and you're so diligent about it for the next week. And then you're like, all right, we're good. We've righted the ship. And then, you know, it happens again a couple of months later. But at least for now, I'm minding my P's and Q's, got everything good to go, all reserved, and just finished a sim run as well. So looking forward to talking about this slate with you guys. If you have any questions for us and you are a Stokastic sub, hit me up in the Discord channel, tag me so I see whatever questions you guys have. Also, if you could do a big favor to Eric and I, just simply like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That is the easiest way to support all the content that we have here. It triggers to the YouTube algorithm. You actually like this content, and then they recommend it to other people, and other people watch it. It helps keep our business going here. So like, subscribe, follow, all that kind of good stuff. Eric, how was the weekend?
Yeah, it was good. Had a wedding this weekend, was able to do shows as quietly as humanly possible on Sunday morning so that my wife didn't murder me. That was good. There were some drinks that were consumed Saturday evening. But one of the more beautiful, more expensive, ridiculous weddings that I've ever been a part of. So it was really, really fun. But my insane, I had talked about this about a month ago, but 3 weddings in 4 weeks. I don't wish that upon my worst enemy, but at least we finished with an absolute banger. So that was worth it. Yeah, it sucks to be popular. And by that, I mean my wife, not me.
Yeah. I mean, people don't invite me anywhere really. And the weddings I do get invited to, I mostly decline because well, the issue too is like my childhood friends or like people I knew from camp or whatever, you know, people didn't want to live in New Jersey their entire lives. So people have moved elsewhere. And then it's like, do I want to go to this wedding in California or wherever where I'm going to know 0 people? And the answer more often than not is 0. So, you know, you just send people a gift in the mail or whatever, fill out something on the registration, buy something, send a text. That's usually been what my strategy has been for the last, you know, couple of years or something along those lines. Like the close friends I had growing up with, I'll go to their weddings. But for the people who were just like good friends, but maybe I haven't talked to them in like 8 years, it's a pass for me. It's a pass. Just letting you know, if you're somebody who is considering inviting me to a wedding, there's a good chance I won't end up going. But I do appreciate. I don't even appreciate it that much. But I'll do. I'm not going to do my best either. But I'll respond cordially. That is what I'm going to end up.
That was a lot of back and forth to set up the joke and then not hit the joke, and then set up the joke and then not hit the joke.
Well,
and
there was no joke. I was just kind of
wasn't
waffling.
a punchline.
It's really just don't invite me places, people. Don't.
It was like watching a Kill
anywhere.
Tony minute. That was a bucket pull. That was a straight up bucket pull there.
Don't invite me anywhere. Don't invite me anywhere. I'm probably not going to show up. That's the moral. That's the moral of the story. Other than the wedding, Eric, anything else notable or any kind of general overarching thoughts for tonight's 9-game MLB slate?
I keep winning every bet. That seems good. So I'm just going to try to keep doing that. I like betting. Betting is fun. I'd like to now bank some DFS. This $5 looks awesome. This moonshot. I love the $3 as well. Kind of having like 20 lineups in each reserved and ready to rock. Building 150 mini max. So like got a lot of stuff in play for a 9-gamer. And thank God they included these games. I was nervous when I saw the slate ahead of time on Sunday morning. I was like, please just include all of the 6:40 p.m. Eastern time games. And they did for once. So shout out DraftKings, shout out FanDuel for putting everything together the way you're supposed to. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
There is one thing that they've messed up though. And I'm just going to double check to make sure it's still not the case. But yeah, Roman Anthony, not in the player pool today. So that is one thing that they did not get correct. Did you see the home run he hit the other day?
Yeah, it went very far.
497 feet. Hit something like 118 miles per hour. It was I know it's a minor league home run, but it is the furthest hit ball by anybody in the Red Sox organization in the StatCast era. The previous record for longest home run hit. Do you know who it was and how long it went?
Had to be O'Neal Cruz, right?
No, not for the Red Sox.
Oh, for the Red Sox. Sorry. No, I have no idea. Maybe, I mean, I doubt Ortiz was that. Who was it?
Frenchie Cordero a couple years ago hit one 470 feet. And Roman Anthony, his homer over the weekend, 497 feet. So he cleared the previous one by 27 feet. for the longest home run hit in the StatCast era in the Red Sox organization. And he is up. He's with the big league roster, but not somebody we could be rostering for today, which is definitely going to impact the slate a little bit just because that's, one less player that you could potentially be rostering from the Boston Red Sox. But let's talk about the pitching for this slate. We've got 3 pay-up options, 2 of them massively popular, 1 of them lesser owned, Eric. Zach Wheeler's 35% owned. He's your second most popular pitcher on the slate. Chris Sale's 51% owned. I don't know if this is true, but I feel like it's true. I think every slate Chris Sale has been on this year, he's been the chalkiest pitcher on the entire slate. Reigning Cy Young winner. But anyway, Chris Sale, he's your most popular pitcher on the slate, 51% owned. Nick Pivetta, the contrarian option there at 8% ownership. Who do you like paying up for the most amongst these 3, all things considered?
Chris Sale. He's 10K. He's 500 cheaper than Zach Wheeler. I think it's the only bummer of this slate is that Chris Sale is so popular, and he should be. I wish he was like 11.5, so we could at least like think about it and at least have some ways of potentially getting down into the mid-range. And I have a couple of options. I mean, I think it's funny that we're on a 9-game slate as opposed to a 6-game slate. And Luis Ortiz last time on a 6-game slate was pulling single-digit ownership, and now people are going to flock to it in this spot because of the strikeout rate and things of that nature. Obviously, every slate is different. Every slate has its own nuances and new ins and outs. But Chris Sale, as you said, has definitely been that constant for us on these slates. I just find it hard to get away from him. I doubt on any of these kind of slates I'm going to be anything less than like 5% less than the field, if that. But today it looks like I'm going to have him in around 60% of lineups in my first run.
Yeah, and then also want to, by the way, same page as you, looking at the initial run of my lineups, I've got Chris Sale in over half my lineups. I do get to Zach Wheeler as my second most rostered pitcher, but that brings him to him being in 25%. Like he's in a quarter of my lineup. So underweight to the field relative to that high projected ownership. And then as far as Pivetta, I've got a couple of Pivetta lineups, nothing all that crazy. You just hate the matchup against the Los Angeles Dodgers. So it's kind of by default for me. Chris Sale for cash games. I do think you want to try to fit Sale and Wheeler together and then whatever value pieces you could find at offense to make them work. I think that's the best way to go about cash games today. One other thing that we should discuss a little bit is the weather in Pittsburgh. There are severe thunderstorm warnings there. There's a pretty high chance of that game either not playing or potentially starting and stopping. I have noticed people get a little bit bitter about the weather sometimes. There was somebody who tagged us on Twitter the other day. He was very upset that we recommended, or not even recommended, just said that I wasn't playing the, was it Reds Diamondbacks game from the other day? The game ended up being 3-3 and got called off in the 7th inning. There's going to be a range of outcomes here. Also, I don't know why somebody would be like that upset. They didn't get exposure to a 3-3 game that only played halfway through. But some of these weather situations, your mileage is just going to vary on how risk averse you want to be. And there's also a part of it as well that I think has to be, even if the game is going to play, how much upside do you think that game brings to the table? And when you look at particularly the pitchers in the Pittsburgh-Miami game, we got Mike Burrows at 6K projected for 3% ownership. And then you got Yuri Perez, who, by the way, I like Yuri Perez as a young pitcher, but he's going to be restricted. There's weather concerns at 7K. I don't know that I really want to take the chance with the weather. But once again, getting back to what I said at the top, I'm not saying like the game is for sure going to play or for sure getting canceled. It's just there is risk. And I don't think it's the highest upside spot for pitchers on either side anyway. So I don't know what you're planning to do with the Miami-Pittsburgh game as we walk through the rest of the pitchers on the slate, Eric. But as of right now, I'm kind of leaning toward just looking elsewhere for where I want to get my exposures.
Yeah. So yesterday, I mean, that was the thing. You had people mad about that. Yesterday, all people wanted to talk about was the weather in Pittsburgh. And I said, I don't care. I just jammed both pitchers that were in that game, just jammed Christopher Sanchez, jammed Paul Skeens. You know who aren't on the mound today in this game? Christopher Sanchez and Paul Skeens. So I'm very happy to get away from the pitchers. That said, I am going to play some 5-mans on both sides. I do think that there's upside for the bats. I mean, I think the implied totals look a little bit low, if I'm being honest, on both sides. I could see this game being one that has shootout potential. It's a terrible ballpark, no doubt about it. But other than the weather, we've got slight wind blowing out there. We've got 2 pretty gettable pitchers. I like Yuri Perez, the stuff, but he gives up hard contact. And then Pittsburgh, Mike Burrows is not very good, in my opinion. And there are many ways that you could potentially get to some 5-mans. I don't really think I want to do anything other than that, I'm not going to play them as one-offs. So it's going to be something that I either filter in and have to like kind of go and hand select the lineups here right before lock, which shouldn't be that difficult considering we're waiting on the Seattle lineup and the Dodger lineup. And I think that's it for the rest of the day. Should be pretty straightforward in that regard. But as far as pitchers, zero interest in firing up either of them.
Yeah, well, let's see. We just had a projection update. What are we waiting on? Yeah, you're at Seattle. We don't have the Dodgers yet. Miami. We don't have Miami. I don't know if you listed them.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but they're like going to be starting like right then. So we should be ready to rock for that.
Yeah, just scrolling through. I'm just kind of generally making note of which, just those 3 lineups. Everything else is in right now. But like I said, as of right now, Pittsburgh, Miami, it's a game I am not planning to play. And then we'll continue to look back at this as we get closer to lock. Because if I do decide I want to play, it'll be pretty easy. I could just undo the negative ROI boost that I did to players from this game, and then they would just be back into my lineups there. But anything else you want to add about the weather in Pittsburgh and Miami?
No.
All right, so let's talk about the 8K pitchers, where we've got a few of them. We've got Merrill Kelly at $8,500. He's 11% owned. Matt Boyd, who has been on a tear as of late. We've seen some really good games from Matt Boyd. He is 15% owned against the Phillies. Your arch nemesis, one of them, pretty much anybody who pitched for the Twins at one point, I think is an arch nemesis for you because you just don't like their pitching, guys who used to pitch for them. For all we know, who's your least favorite pitcher in the league who isn't on the Twins right now?
Bailey Ober.
No, not on the Twins.
Oh, not on the Twins? Jose Barrios, the guy you're going to say the name of.
Who's your least favorite pitcher who's not on the Twins and hasn't been on the Twins in the past?
Randy Vasquez.
All right. Future Twin, guaranteeing it right now. There's nobody associated.
If Randy Vasquez ends up a Twin, I'm going to absolutely... The most BABIP... Is there anybody running better in the entire league than Randy Vasquez right now?
Off the top of my head, no. But maybe. I'll check.
I hate Randy Vasquez. This guy is insufferable. Let's just throw a changeup repeatedly and get lucky by BABIP.
Jameson Taillon is up there. He has a 207 BABIP and 83.3% strand rate.
LOB percentage over on Fangraphs. Always got to love it.
Wow. Let's see. Anybody else? Tyler Mahle is another one. He's got a 235 BABIP and an 83.6%.
Tyler Mahle, though, he has a good fastball. So I will give Tyler Mahle the benefit of the doubt.
Let's see. There's other ones up here who are just really good pitchers. Like, Paul Skeens and DeGrom also have high strand rates and low BABIPs, but I think just because they generate a lot of soft contact. But anyway, Randy Vasquez has been really lucky. He's not on the slate, but point being is you don't like pitchers who are on the Twins. You don't like pitchers who used to be on the Twins. And my new conspiracy theory is that you're not going to like future pitchers on the Twins and they're just on other organizations. So whatever teams have pitchers you don't like, I think that they should call up the Twins and orchestrate a trade just to ruin your life in some kind of way.
He got his face smashed in. Thank God I didn't bet him. So, I mean, you never know. David Vesta, changeup specialist. Zebby Matthews, we got him away from having him throw changeups. I mean, there's just so much like nuanced, nerdy baseball stuff that just pisses me off about the Twins. Because when we do like smart, nerdy kid things, like spend money on the right kind of pitchers coming in there, like Pablo Lopez was a good spend. I'm happy with Pablo Lopez, but like everything else we do is just broken. We're so dumb at developing pitchers.
And you got Dustin May at 8K as well, just below your arch nemesis, Jose Barrios at $8,100. So the 8K range, couple contrarian options, couple guys who are, not like chalky, but pulling some ownership. Of these 4 pitchers in the 8K range, do you like any of them?
I can tolerate a little bit of Matt Boyd. So I bet his under 5.5 strikeouts. It's plus money right now. I don't understand that because you look at the individual hitters in this lineup and you remove the Bryce Harper piece, but you're moving Alec Boehm up to the 3-hole today, 15.6% K rate. I bet him to homer. Nick Castellanos, I bet him to homer. Trey Turner, I thought about betting him to homer. Kyle Schwarber, I thought about betting him to homer. I just kind of like this lineup for avoiding strikeouts. Now, Otto Kemp, sitting there at the 7-hole, Weston Wilson, 8-hole, Rojas, 9-hole. That's my sweat, is him getting through 3 times clean like he did against Washington and potentially getting 2 of those 3 guys twice. But otherwise, I feel really good with the hitting environment that exists in Philly. And I feel really good about some of the prices from a betting perspective on those guys. And I think Matt Boyd is a good pitcher. I'm not going out of my way. I thought he was good at Detroit. I think he's good now, but he is a fly ball pitcher taking on a Phillies team that has righty power, has been better than people expect. And even a guy like Schwarber leads the league in home runs against left-handed pitching, which is a wild fact. So Matthew Boyd, it's not the easiest of matchups, that's for sure. And as such, for strikeouts, I thought it was a little bit low, but for a DFS perspective, I'm around the field on him. I'm okay with it. Merrill Kelly, I'm a little bit concerned about some of the things going forward, but ground ball percentage is up there in a place where I can kind of back that around the 42, 43% number. And then you got Dustin May and Jose Barrios, and I really have no desire to click on either of them. Barrios taking on an onslaught of lefties, and the righties who are in there are pretty good, and I value. Don't know what else to say. I mean, they're not pulling a ton of ownership for a reason there. Boyd is your best, but pulling the most ownership.
And just refresh the Pittsburgh weather, by the way. It is currently a 45% chance of thunderstorms throughout the night. And the thunderstorm warning is lasting until 10 p.m. tonight. So, like I said, pretty dicey situation there. Not saying it's impossible that it's going to get canceled. I don't think it's to me, it's like it's coin flip whether it's going to end up playing or not. So I, as of right now, am not going to be rolling the dice on that game. But I'm not going to say that it's for sure going to get canceled. If I've really liked one of the offenses or the pitchers, I might be willing to chance it a little bit more. But when I don't feel all that great about the game anyway, I would just rather look elsewhere. And if it plays, cool. If not, also cool by me. Well, my preference is that it just doesn't play if I'm going to be fading it.
Ryan Weathers, 60-day IL. That sucks. I like that guy's stuff. And he's getting balls thrown at his head and fucking his arm falls off. Great. Awesome. Good job, Ryan Weathers. You were fun until you weren't. I
can't believe you didn't make the Our Pets Heads Are Falling Off reference. That's usually a trademark for you.
I know, but I have sometimes I have these recurring bits and I'm like, if I do them every show, they're not recurring bits. They're annoying to me too. So I'm going to annoy myself less. Not worried about everybody else.
Jake Lumazau in the chat. What game is canceled? Nothing is canceled as of right now. Just saying that there is thunderstorm warnings for Pittsburgh, and the Pittsburgh-Miami game is taking place there. So that's where we're at with that game and the risk involved. As far as pitchers for me in the 8K range, I'm on the same page as you, Eric. I like Matt Boyd a little bit as a GPP pitcher, not necessarily going crazy with him a little or anything like that, but I have a little bit of exposure to him, and it's worth pointing out on a slate that's 9 games that I've reduced to 8 games. I have him in 18% of lineups right now, a little bit overweight to the field on him. He's reasonably priced at $8,300, and he's pitched pretty well. He had the how deep did he go into the game the other day with the no-hitter? Was that like
he was great, and then 7 1/3 it was, but it was Washington just kind of hitting bloop pop flies, and that's really the concern here. Again, Matt Boyd is a fly ball pitcher, and it is going to be very good hitting weather there with a lineup that now with Bohm moved up. They definitely do a good job of avoiding strikeouts in the top 6, which is something that I try to prioritize a little bit more when modeling it out. And, again, Boyd under 5.5 strikeouts was on Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks last night. I always love Sundays because I get the props out earlier. Can kind of take advantage of opening numbers, and got to plus 125 at one point in time. I didn't get it there, but that would have been fun because it is definitely not there anymore.
And by the way, Matt Boyd for the year, 3.01 ERA, 3.29 expected ERA. The strikeout stuff, 24.7%, a little bit up for his career of 23%. He's just been solid this year. The matchup against the Phillies, especially on the road, I hate it, but we've got limited pitching options, especially if you just don't want to pay up for the 2 studs. Wheeler and Sale, play them in cash games. GPPs also, fine targets. I just don't want them to be my only 2 pitchers I'm rostering, so I have to find some other guys. Matt Boyd's one of the ones who's making it into the mix for myself. 7K pitchers. We've got Shane Baz. We've got Yusei Kikuchi. We've got Luis Ortiz, who's somebody I know you've liked in the past. I believe last time he pitched, you liked him as a contrarian option. I didn't, and he was lights out for that start. I remember that pretty well. Luis Ortiz, and also his price never moves. He's $7,500 again. Andre Palante. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, he should stay there because he's going to get lit up at times too. But now he's pulling more ownership, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, so he is not like crazy popular, though. 14.5% owned at home, pitching against the Reds. And then you got Andre Palante at $7,200. Yuri Perez, who I've already said, a game that I'm not looking to play right now. He's 8% owned. Anybody standing out to you in the 7K range? Because we do have, Luis Ortiz, we got Kikuchi, Baz. Like, there are okay pitchers here.
Yeah, they're kind of the same guy to me. I mean, it's going to be feast and famine for both Kikuchi and Ortiz. They're different handedness, but I think Kikuchi has the slightly better spot for strikeout upside in this one. And I kind of think people have been sleeping on Luis Ortiz all season long, but Cincinnati, this is really feast or famine as well. I mean, this team against righties, you just really never know what you're going to get. And I think just as like a tiebreaker between the two, I get more information by going towards Yusei Kikuchi in the later games for 200 more, where I can kind of maneuver around stacks. There's something that does go well, doesn't go well. Not that late swap's a huge part of my process in MLB relative to NBA or NFL, where I definitely prioritize it all the time. But baseball, it's still kind of like, hey, all other things being equal, including the ownership in this regard and ownership and, the salaries here, I slightly prefer Kikuchi getting to a little bit more of him.
By the way, we just got the Dodgers and the Marlins lineup, which means we are just waiting on the Mariners.
Oh, yeah, Stowers is in there, 5-hole. That was what we were waiting on because he got dinged up, I think, Saturday. He didn't play yesterday.
So just waiting on that Mariners lineup, which may or may not come before lock. But other than that, we are set for the lineups that we have for today. So let's see. What do I have for exposures in the 7K range? Yeah, a couple of pitchers I like here. I am getting myself overweight to feel on Luis Ortiz. I'm not a super believer in him long-term or anything like that, but he is an okay pitcher. He's below average, but he can generate strikeouts. He's fairly cheap. Also has an okay matchup here against the Reds. I think he's a little bit underowned when you consider some of the other options on the slate. I did have less of him, but then I had a little bit of Yuri Perez earlier, but I think removing that game kind of pushed me to a little bit more of Ortiz. And then also I agree with you, Yusei Kikuchi, who I also bet. I bet him over 5.5 strikeouts. I think he's the only pitcher I have an over bet for strikeouts today. But Kikuchi, 3.23 ERA. His underlying numbers are a little bit concerning because he has a 4.93 expected ERA, a 4.52 FIP. His strikeouts are also down this year at 20.3%. Now, with that said, we do have a pretty long track record of him being a guy who has a 25 to 28% strikeout rate. He's had a K rate the last 3 years of 28%, 26%, and 27%. So I do tend to think his strikeouts are going to rebound going forward. But yeah, definitely a little bit concerning what the numbers are looking like in the early part of this season. But I think it's balanced out by him only being $7,700 today. So Yusei Kikuchi, Luis Ortiz, those are the two pitchers in the 7K range I'm taking some shots on. Anybody else want to talk about in this price range, Eric? If not, we'll look at all the cheapies.
No, not really. I mean, Palante, not going to be a thing against Toronto. Yuri Perez, I'm going to play 0 of between the weather and now 80 to 85 pitches being the confirmed number. Let's go. Let's get low like an 18-wheeler.
All right. So punt options. Nobody's pulling any ownership here. We've got 6% ownership to Jeffrey Springs, 6% ownership to Brian Bayo, and that's kind of it. Savali's 3.7% on Hancock, sub 1% on Wade Miley, sub 1% owned. Mike Burrows, 3% owned. Are you liking anybody to punt with, Eric? Is there anybody you could stomach, or are you just not going to punt today?
So I'm going to stomach two disgusting ones. One, Brian Bayo. The weather seems to be pretty decent there against Tampa Bay. Wind blowing in at Wrigley Field is always a plus. It's under 60 degrees. So that is useful as well, even though it's got 90% humidity hanging out in that ballpark. Looks like pretty good pitching weather, all things concerned. And the total kind of reflects it. I'm mad at myself because I did think the under of 9 looked really appealing, but I'm like, Shane Baz, he's probably the one Tampa Bay starter who hasn't really been lights out at any point in time here. But Brian Bayo gets a lot of ground balls as is. If you can get the BABIP to go your way, 4.5 is his strikeout number. I took the under of that as well. 3 unders for me. I have nothing else in strikeout department for today. But I still think from a DFS perspective, he can run good. And I can kind of make the case of him, potentially walking into more against Tampa Bay as far as strikeouts go. Although I'm not always hoping for that from a betting perspective. It just is what the numbers say they are. And then Emerson Hancock. And the main reason for this is Arizona's the most popular stack that we've got in the top stacks tool. They're the second most popular in terms of ownership behind Cleveland. And I think if Arizona ends up as popular as what it looks like they're going to be with this high implied run total, one of the ways you get leverage is just having the pitcher that goes up against them and makes them fail. And so I think there's something about getting to Emerson Hancock, who doesn't have a good strikeout rate, doesn't have a good arsenal, doesn't have anything that I really like other than he gives up somewhat soft contact, keeps like the 90 mile per hour batted balls to a minimum with that sinker and changeup, but 5.19 expected ERA. This is a career high 17.5% K rate. He is not a good pitcher, but if he does well, you're getting some of that leverage against Arizona. And I think Arizona could end up a little bit more popular than we currently have projected.
Yeah, we shall see. Let's see. Do I have anything that I'm getting to for cheap?
I have 4% of Emerson Hancock, by the way. I didn't mean to make it sound like I love Emerson Hancock today. Sometimes that's kind of the nefarious part of doing these shows. It's like, all right, I'm going to make a case for somebody sub 7K, even though that case is generally pretty shit.
I can't even make one. I don't, like across 150 lineups, I've got a couple shares of Bayo. I've got a share of Aaron Savali, but I don't have anybody I'm willing to make a case for. And, there's nobody I have more than a couple of shares of anyway. So for me, this low end range, like I would rather just find the salary to go up to like Ortiz or Kikuchi or something like that.
Any Jeffrey Springs? That's the one guy that I'm curious about because we don't have confirmation of him being the guy today, but he is assumed to be the guy today. And I think Jeffrey Springs is one of those interesting guys because with Tampa Bay, he was pretty damn good. We saw 7 strikeouts against my Twins last time out, and he looked pretty good. He's had 2 relief bulk appearances that have gone really well for him in terms of strikeouts lately. And obviously it's the Angels. We know how much they strike out. Do you have any Jeffrey Springs?
I've got 2 out of 150 lineups with him. So like same as some of these other punt options.
Got it.
By the way, we do have all of the lineups confirmed now. The Mariners lineup came across. Julio Rodriguez is in the lineup. He had left the other day early, so he was somebody who I thought maybe we end up seeing him sit, but not the case. He's out there. Looks like a fairly normal lineup for the Mariners. It is, let's see, News got it, posted it in Discord, so I'll read it off to you guys. Crawford, Rodriguez, Cal Rayleigh, Jorge Polanco, Rosarena, Tellez, Mastroboni, Young, Williamson. So yeah, nothing.
Canzone didn't get in the lineup today?
He did not.
Okay. That was the big one that I was waiting on because I kind of have a hard on for Dominic Canzone. I probably could have used different words there. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Like his haircut? What do you like about him?
He's got strong bat.
Okay. All right. Nice. He's got some good wood.
Real good wood. Okay, this is creepy. I'm creeping myself out today. I got to stop talking. Can you carry this show for 26 more minutes? Because I would
really rather ask you more about his bat.
Dominic Canzone, I was excited for. I was getting a little bit excited.
Do you use good grip?
Yes.
He tapes it up?
Yes.
What color is it? There's different. The bats come in all different colors.
It's got an indentation. Okay, I gotta stop.
Good point by Emac. Is it a torpedo bat?
Oh yeah, just bring that rocket.
There we go. So there we go.
Dominic Canzone's a great baseball name too. Come on, Dominic Canzone's a great
Canzone. Let's talk about the FanDuel side of pitching as well. So over on FanDuel, we have, no surprise, Chris Sale is the chalk. So over on DraftKings, Sale and Wheeler are both popular, but Sale is the much more popular of the two. And the same goes over for FanDuel, where you got 2x the ownership on Chris Sale is what Zach Wheeler is driving. If you're playing cash games, Chris Sale over Zach Wheeler, I think that's a pretty easy decision to make there. But for GPPs, Eric, do you want to be riding with the chalk and Chris Sale, or is there a different direction you'd rather go if you're playing one GPP lineup on FanDuel?
Nah, I'd play Chris Sale in just about everything on FanDuel. Today is a day. Here's the thing. There's positive regression due for Chris Sale. 7.5 strikeout prop. Have you seen his BABIP this season?
I have not. Based on your tone, I'm going to assume it's high, though.
I just want you to look at it yourself, because when I saw it yesterday and I brought it up on the show, I was like, wait, what?
Let's see. What is it, like 330 or something?
Oh, it's higher.
Oh boy. All right,
We're talking Chris Sale.
Yeah, 343, which, by the way, his career average is 298, which is right around league average. So yeah, you'd expect that to come down a little bit. Yeah, that's a high BABIP that he has. He has also gotten a little bit lucky with his strand rate, which is at 81.6%. So maybe there's a little bit of a trade-off there, because ultimately he's got a 2.93 ERA, but a 3.15 expected ERA, 2.92 FIP. So the high BABIP is kind of canceled out by the high strand rate. But yeah, there have definitely been some things that haven't gone his way in the BABIP department.
Yeah, just one of those things that catches your eye where you're like, huh. And obviously, yeah, his expected numbers being a little bit higher does not shock me when you bring into account the strand rate, because, it can come down to a batted ball event here or there from time to time. But Chris Sale, I think, getting a little unlucky with balls that have actually been put into play, which is not what you're hoping for when you just roster him and everything on FanDuel. You just hope he misses every damn bat.
Yeah, he has gotten a little unlucky with balls. Same can't be said for Dominic Canzone, because Eric would like him to be getting lucky with his balls over there. For me, I generally agree with you. I think Chris Sale, 34% owned. I do like that as chalk in GPPs. Here's something else too, is think about some of the pitchers who we like to be a little bit different with over on DraftKings. Ortiz is $9,200 on FanDuel. Yeah. Matt Boyd is $9,900 on FanDuel. Merrill Kelly is $9,600 on FanDuel. These guys aren't even that much cheaper than Chris Sale. So it's really hard for me to say, like, hey, I'm going to save $1,300 to play Luis Ortiz instead of just going to Chris Sale.
And then you've got guys like Nick Pivetta, who would be fun in certain matchups. He's facing the fucking Dodgers. Yeah. You've got just brutal stuff kind of for some of these contrarian options. Zach Wheeler, the weather is absolutely terrible, and he's playing the Cubs. Like, these are bad things for them. So I can't really make a case for them relative to just eating the chalk with Chris Sale. I'd rather just play, even if Chris Sale ends up 40%, I would rather just jam Chris Sale on a one pitcher site and take my chances with that being something that works out than anything else on this specific slate. I think you win it more times than not going that direction.
Any other final thoughts at pitcher, Eric?
No, but I do think when it comes to one other pitcher to potentially roll out on DK, Dustin May. He's not really pulling any ownership, nor should he, but there is a case to be made where you get the Dodgers. I mean, the Dodgers need some kind of length out of some of these starters at some point in time. And I'm not saying that, they're just going to let him go out there and die and eat it in the first game of a series against the Padres here. But outside of Tatis Raz Machado there, you get more strikeouts in the heart of it with two lefties, Merrill Sheets, Bogarts, Cronenworth. I mean, Wade and Diaz there at the bottom half of it. Diaz was like plus 1,500 for a second over on Flick to hit a home run, and I didn't snipe on that. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Done talking about it.
Let's just double check and make sure there were no other questions in Discord before we move on past the pitching, which we are all caught up there, so should be good to go. Also, want to let you guys know that if you want access to our Discord and all of the other stuff that we have going on behind the paywall for Stokastic MLB DFS, like player projections, ownership projections, our top pitchers tool, which is on screen right now, the top stacks tool, which I'm loading right now for us to talk about offense, our contest generator, our Sims tool. You can sign up for any of those packages using the link down below in the YouTube description box, not just for baseball. You can sign up for any of the packages for other sports we offer as well. It comes with access to our Discord channel, but also we've got our link join our link join program. So if you guys want to sign up for any of the affiliates that we have here on screen, you get 1 free month of core access to a sport of your choosing for each one you want to sign up for. So if you want to sign up for 3 of these, you could get 3 free months of MLB core access. And then on top of it too, a lot of these books, they have things like free bets, deposit bonus offers. So you're going to be getting free money. You're going to be getting a free subscription. So take advantage of it. It's a really good way to get your foot in the door here. And then also these deals are not going to be around forever. Talked about it a little bit last week, but ProfitX, not ProfitX. It was a Vivid Picks pulled out of the program. We added ProfitX. So take advantage of these books while they're here, because they are not going to be around forever as a part of this program. And also, like I said, any of these packages come with access to our Discord channel. Let's talk stacks here, Eric. And right now, we have the Cleveland Guardians going up against Wade Miley. Yes, Wade Miley is still pitching in the big leagues. So we've got Cleveland. No, nothing crazy, but they're the chalk. They are 10% owned. And that's it as far as really high ownership that The Diamondbacks are 8.9% owned as a team. You got the Angels against Jeffrey Springs, 8.5% owned. Do you have one in particular stack, Eric, that stands out to you above all the other ones on the slate?
Yeah, the Dodgers. They are pulling no ownership against Nick Pivetta. 4.8% ownership share. I know they're expensive. I think it's pretty doable still today. And it's really hard for me. I mean, I can play Chris Sale and then I can mix and match a ton of the goobers that we talked about. Like a ton. That kind of was my path to getting to some of these Dodgers. But you give me a 9-game slate where the Dodgers are sub 5% against a fly ball pitcher, and one that I do expect a little bit of negative regression for. Nick Pivetta can get strikeouts. He's been a good pitcher, but the fly ball contact just freaks the shit out of me. And anytime I can get low owned exposure to the Dodgers, they jump out to me in like a major way. And then the other one is the other LA team, the Angels. Like Arizona against Hancock, he's our top stack that we've got going here as well. But 5 implied run total for us here going up against Jeffrey Springs, who, yeah, this is probably a ballpark upgrade for him, but it's still a hitter's ballpark. Maybe not the levels of Sacramento here to start off the season. And he's pitching pretty deep into these games. And Angels, they have so many righties. I know that they've been bad against lefties for the most part, but they get Mike Trout back into this lineup going forward. You have Ward, Darno. So weird not to have Logan O'Hoppe in this lineup yet again today, which is just stupid. But Joe Adell is starting to hit the baseballs. We're not going to go down that path again. Joe Adell is good. 3.2K. No can zone love, but more love for Joe Adell.
So for me, and I'm updating everything for the latest ownership and all of the lineup updates and whatnot, but the team that was standing out the most to me when I ran everything through the Sims before was the Toronto Blue Jays against Andre Palante. So the Blue Jays, it's twofold. First off, the Blue Jays are too cheap today. Top to bottom, that is just a not expensive enough lineup. But then also, they're going up against a pitcher here in Palante, 4.91 ERA, 4.81 expected ERA. He is a very heavy ground ball pitcher, but he has a 25.6% home run to fly ball rate. So even though he is mostly just putting ground balls in play, when your home run to fly ball rate is that high, it still lends itself to allowing some homers. He allowed 2 homers last time out against the Royals. He allowed 1 homer to the Orioles in the start before that. No homers against the Tigers. Then before that, a homer allowed against the Royals, a homer around against the Nationals. So the really high home run to fly ball rate, it still means he's allowed 11 homers in 12 starts, despite having a 60% ground ball rate. And then when you have a pretty decent Toronto Blue Jays offense that is underpriced on the other side of the game, I like Toronto quite a bit. Like I said, I'm updating everything right now to just see if anything has changed with our latest ownership update. But that is the team that I had the most of in my last run, Eric.
Yeah, I have a lot of them as like 2 and 3 man for what it's worth. Addison Barger, one of my highest owned batters in my first run of the Sims. Vlad Guerrero Jr. They've been awesome bets here recently too. I pretty much attacked my Minnesota Twins every single time with them, and they pretty much cashed every single game. But Barger is third base outfield 3.3K. What are we actually doing here? Like look at any piece of data on Addison Barger, and that is $1,500 off. So he's going to be one of the most popular one-offs today. Don't really give a shit. I'm playing a ton of him.
Let me refresh the weather here, and it's the exact same for Pittsburgh, Miami. So 20 minutes to go into locks. We have to start making our final decisions here, Eric. What are you going to do with the weather in Pittsburgh, Miami, now that we're 20 minutes out of lock? Are you going to reduce your exposure, just play it as is, fade it? What are you going to do with Pittsburgh, Miami?
I'm taking it out right now. I'm probably going to leave. Maybe. Nope. I'm taking it all out. It's kind of what I'm deciding. It's not worth it on this slate specifically. And cue up the O'Neal Cruz double dong.
Yeah, I am also taking it out. So I'm just going to do negative ROI boosts to everybody involved in the game, the stacks, the individual hitters, the pitchers. And that is what I'm going to do to make sure that I don't have that game in my lineups today. So just making some of those adjustments in the final updates here. We did get a question from Einsteinium. He wants to know, what are our thoughts on the Cubs as a potential leverage stack against Zach Wheeler tonight? Zach Wheeler, not typically a pitcher that we're stacking against, but he is popular. There's leverage to be had. Is that a direction you're looking to go down at all?
not a lot. I mean, I did bet PCA because it was an outrageous number on his homer. Left against a really good righty. But Kyle Tucker back in that lineup is useful, just as like extra protection. Looks really, really good in the complexion of like, hey, we want upside. Yeah, Tucker, Suzuki, and Armstrong will do just fine in that regard. My big issue is that they're expensive, man. You're not getting a discount to play them against the Phillies right now. Look at these prices. 6.3K Kyle Tucker, 5.8K against Pete Crow Armstrong, against Zach Wheeler, 5.3K for Suzuki, 4.9K for Busch. If you want to play somebody like expensive, give me the Dodgers at their prices. Look at it's just absurd pricing on the Cubs. And I know that they can run. I know they can do, like Zach Wheeler's been giving up solo shots this season. And that's kind of what I'm holding to, but it's good humidity here. The wind, there's some conflicting reports. It is one of the more affected stadiums in baseball by wind. Looks like it's more across the field than anything. But Zach Wheeler, I do think, while I'm not going to play a crazy amount of him, again, my second highest owned pitcher, but 26% isn't like crazy. I don't really like getting to the Cubs' leverage on the other side because you're not accomplishing a hell of a lot.
So there is leverage there with the ownership on Zach Wheeler, but like if you're playing 150 lineups, you had a couple shares of the Cubs against him. That's reasonable to me. But like if you're trying to make this a primary stack for yourself, I think their expected output, it's just not something that I think is very likely to make them the highest scoring team on the slate. So there are times where you could be underweight to Wheeler. It could work out, but you don't necessarily at the same time have to be stacking against him. Like Wheeler could go out, he could score 16 fantasy points, pitch, like 6 innings, 5 strikeouts, 2 earned runs or something like that, have himself a solid outing. It's just hard for me to really see that the Cubs being all that likely to have like a ceiling game and being the highest scoring team on the slate. Like look at our projected team totals, for example. We've got 2 teams with team totals under 4. It's the Cubs and the Brewers. I get it. The pitchers they're going up against are really popular. I've also said I'm going to be underweight to the field on Zach Wheeler, but I don't feel like I need to go that far as to be stacking against Wheeler for today. So that for me is going to be a no as far as wanting to prioritize the Cubs, which seems like you and I are on the same page.
Yeah. How much do you trust Wheeler on 10 days rest? His wife had a baby, I think it was. So like, I think I trust it just fine. It's a lot of rest. He got shelled his last outing before it, but I don't really care. He's a good enough pitcher. Just really it's price and probability. The price is so expensive on these Cubs. So while they have upside against anybody, including a Zach Wheeler, I don't think it's worth firing up today at the current ownership.
And were there any other questions from Discord? No, not as of right now. So we talked about our favorite team to be stacking in single entry. For large field tournaments, Eric, what do you want to be doing with the Cleveland Guardians, who are the sole team on the slate, pulling over 10% ownership? Do you think that it is warranted? Do you think they're under-owned? Do you think they're too highly owned? What do you want to be doing with Cleveland in large field GPPs? Highest top value stack on the slate.
Yeah, I just reran my lineups and I got a lot more of them. I don't know what I did between the update or what happened here, but it would appear that I am playing them ad nauseum here now. So that's cool. Not even a team we had talked about here yet, but Wade Miley sucks. He's terrible. He's horrible. He's no good. David Fry is 3.1K first base catcher, showing up in absolutely everything. Lane Thomas is 3K batting second today in absolutely everything. I mean, it's a really bad pitcher in Wade Miley, who couldn't even keep he's over a 5.5 ERA. I didn't see what the exact number was again, but I had looked at it last night, and over a 5.5 ERA in AAA, and they gave him a contract, and he got completely shelled in his one outing before he got that contract. I mean, just so ridiculous. He is awful. So yeah, Sims Tool loves it. I'm on board with it. Yeah.
So Cincinnati, I guess the last time he was decent for a full season was with, I guess he had a good year with the Brewers in 2023. It was mostly luck related though, because his underlying numbers were no good. He struck out 5.91 hitters per 9 innings, but Menish put up a decent ER. By the way, he appears to really like the NL Central because he has pitched for, here are the recent teams he's pitched for. The Reds, the Brewers, the Cubs, and then the Reds again. So for whatever reason, that division passes him around a whole bunch. Insert,
like Dominic Canzone.
Eric and Dominic Canzone joke
I
here.
beat you to it. Bitch, you like that? You like that? I beat you to it. You like that? Oh yeah, come at me with your jokes, Greg. Come at me with your jokes. I'm ready.
Careful, you're asking to come at you. So anyway, Wade Miley this year, it's such little sample size because he's only pitched 2 innings in the big leagues, but I tend to think this guy is not going to be any good. I'm on the same page as you. If you look at all the projection models on Wade Miley this year, they pretty much all have him with an ERA in like the low to mid 5s. So Cleveland, they are the most popular team on the slate, but it looks like it's going to be warranted for tonight. Are there any really low-owned stacks that you're liking to get to?
Yeah, I like getting to the Phillies. So we just talked about the Zach Wheeler side. It's good hitting weather, and you're getting this lineup that gets some righties higher up in the order. There's no Bryce Harper, obviously, which, maybe makes it worse in that regard. But you have Alec Boehm, first base, third base, 3.8K. Nick Castellanos batting cleanup. Schwarber, Turner, we know the upside that exists for them every single day. I just really like getting to the Phillies with a 4 implied run total against Boyd, who's been very good this season, but it's more of just like where the price tags are. So you want to know the difference on, here you didn't like the Cubs against Wheeler and you're talking leverage. Well, because salary is also a thing. So I like Alec Boehm a lot as like an individual plate piece, but I like the whole top of that lineup for sure.
All right, so looking over some of my final exposures here, and I'm getting to a pretty decent amount of the Los Angeles Angels going up against Jeffrey Springs in my final version of lineups. They're also pulling some ownership, and I know I asked you if there are any contrarian teams you like, but just want to point out that I noticed that I have a decent chunk of them there. And then another one as well for me. Let's see, where's their projected ownership? You'll like this one. St. Louis Cardinals against Jose Barrios. Yep. I ended up getting to 10% of the Cardinals as a stack in my final run here. So Jose Barrios so far this season, pulling up his numbers and seeing what the Sims are. Okay, I could definitely get behind stacking against him. So while Barrios does have a 3.67 ERA, he's a 4.61 expected ERA, a 4.41 FIP. The strikeout stuff has definitely dissipated the last 4 years. Earlier on in his career, when he was with your Minnesota Twins, he was a guy who had like a 23 to 25% strikeout rate. It's 22% this year. It was 19% last year. It was 23% the year before. The year before that, it was 19%. So Jose Barrios, he's another pitcher I think is probably facing regression going forward. His BABIP is low at 277. He has historically had low BABIPs, but even by his measure, this is lower than normal. 289 career BABIP. It's 277 this year. Also, his strand rate has been really lucky. 81.6%. That's a career high for him. I think that one of your arch nemesis is Jose Barrios is about to be seeing some regression in his future, Eric. I would rather be early to that than late. And also, if you look at our implied team totals here, we have the Cardinals at 4.7. Only 3 teams higher on the entire slate. The Angels, the Diamondbacks, and the Guardians. And all these teams they're the 3 most popular teams on the entire slate. Comparable implied team total for the Cardinals, but they have half the ownership. So I like going to St. Louis. Talk dirty to me, Daddy. Dominic Canzone. Canzone. Over at 14 wants to know, do we care about how much money is left on the table? No. It's not something I ever pay attention to when I'm running my lineups through the Sims. Here, let's see. If I look at my top 150 lineups, it's not like NBA where, if you've left a bunch of salary on the table, you've probably made some kind of mistake. So I have lineups looking through some of my top lineups, leave like $500 or $600 on the table, but ultimately it's not something I care about. If I was hand building a lineup though, I probably wouldn't be leaving like thousands of dollars in salary on the table. I don't put much thought into it. I don't think about it like at all anymore. Not in MLB. I mean, if I looked at it and I saw like $5,000 on the table, I'd probably think something went wrong because there's enough good pitching, specifically Chris Sale, good enough in Wheeler there, despite the difficult matchup where I wouldn't want to do that. But if I looked at my lineup, saw 2,200 on a couple, like I'm just scrolling through now, 1,200, 900, 700, 900. Like I'm just going through them. Don't care. No concern of mine when it comes to baseball. By the way, lock is in 5 minutes. So if you guys have not gotten your lineups in, you might want to go ahead and do that now. I know it's a little bit of an odd slate just because of the start time being at 6:40 Eastern time. Just want to make sure that nobody sleeps on that lock time there because I know that I've looked at the time a couple times over the course of the show, be like, oh, I have until 6:45, but no, it's until 6:40. It's always weird when some of those lock times change for baseball a little bit. Anything else you're noticing about your stack exposures? I mean, for me, Guardians look good. I mentioned that I like Toronto more than the field. I like the Cardinals more than the field. I'm about even with the field on the Angels. Anything else that's a priority for you tonight?
No, I'm kind of doing the exact same stuff as you. I'm very spread out across the board amongst my lineups. But yeah, my big hitters going back into the stacks here: Cleveland, Arizona, Toronto, Angels, Phillies, Cardinals, Dodgers. I'm playing the Dodgers in single entry, so I'm okay in large field. I have 195 lineups today, so playing more lineups than I normally do because of the contest. They just look awesome today on DK, and yeah, I think the Dodgers in single entry are still going to be what I do there, but still right around, they're my last of like the 10% numbers. Wish I could get to more athletics against Kikuchi if Kikuchi does end up popular. And so I'll probably entertain the idea of moving around some pieces there. Like some one-offs from Seattle. Sadly, Dominic Canzone will not be one of them, but Marlins Pirates expected to start at 720. I don't really care.
Is that changing your lineups in any kind of way?
No, if anything, maybe I get to like a share here now if I just go through and I'm like, oh, I'll get to like one of O'Neill Cruz or something, but still don't care. Not a game environment I want a ton of.
Yeah, I once again, just to reiterate here before we get to lock, my lineups are uploaded and I faded that game. So if it goes off, well, then I won't be very happy and I'll feel like an idiot. But not what I'm doing. Not playing it for today. So Eric, we have reached the just about the end of the show here. If you guys haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget also Portfolio EV, your first 7 days, totally free. It's on us. So check out the tools, go see what they're all about, make yourself some money, help grow your bankroll. But also dong time. We love talking about dongs here. I assume that Eric was going to be talking about his guy Canzone if he was in the lineup today, but guess what? He isn't. So Eric is going to have to look for dongs elsewhere. With that in mind, Eric, who are you picking to go yard tonight?
I love when you phrase things the way that you do. Let's get ourselves onto a little bit of Nick Castellanos here. 4K. I talked about the leverage you're getting. Matt Boyd might end up a little bit more popular as well, and decent enough weather, wind blowing across the field there, but decent enough hitting weather, good ballpark for hitting in general. Him and Alec Boehm both look really, really good as contrarian pieces on today's slate. I like Kemp at 2K as well, gets you away from some of the 2K. I mean, we could end up with a really popular piece there in the outfield. What's his face from the Cleveland Guardians, Rodriguez. But I just think that there's lots of ways to get leverage on this slate. Lots of fun kind of lineup iterations. Boehm, Castellanos. I'll go to the Casty side.
All right, let's see. For myself, which guy do I want to point out? So I am going to go to, all right. By the way, it looks like the $5, not like overlay, but it looks like the $5 isn't going to fill on DraftKings. So
let's go.
A little bit of information now. Unfortunately, means it'll never run this contest again for the rest of the year. But at least for today,
I'm running like one lineup. Yuri Perez. Just want to let it be known. One lineup. One.
All right. All right. Probably I'm going to go with the guy who I've picked for this segment more than anybody else this year. The guy who I've bet to homer more than anybody else this year. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I'm about 2x the field on him, looking at my final exposures. Like him against Andre Palante. Talked about Palante, guy who has a 60% ground ball rate, but guess what? Still allows a bunch of homers. 25.6% home run to fly ball rate this year. I'm going with Vlad to hit a home run, and that is going to do it for us today, guys. Unfortunately, ran out of time, so not going to be able to read off all of the home run picks from chat, but always do like to see those in there, and I'll highlight some of the ones that are coming across, at least really quick. I saw some lots of people actually on the different bats from the Toronto Blue Jays. I saw George Springer in there. But yeah, tomorrow we'll make sure to read off some of your guys' home run picks. Just kind of ran out of time today. Other than that, thank you guys very much for watching. Have a good night. Good luck with your lineups. And Eric and I will see you guys back here tomorrow. Good night.